Hello and good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are and what time you're watching this. Uh, Welcome. This is part 3 of our 3-part series of the 7 elements needed in your culture now. And today we are covering the last 3 elements: dynamic collaboration, relentless innovation, and the ultimate goal, organizational agility. So before I dive in, I need to ask my regular question every time we get together. What is making work awesome for you this week? Our mission at Blue Rebel Works is to improve people's lives by making work awesome. And so we are always helping people to recognize those awesome parts of work where they are, or to create them if they seem to be lacking. So, what is making work awesome for you this week? Let me know in the chat whether you're here in live or whether you're here in the replay. What's making work awesome for me this week? There are many things. I've got an emotional intelligence workshop tomorrow. I've got a speaking engagement with an awesome nonprofit organization that makes a huge impact on the lives of girls around the world on Friday. Super excited about that. And I'm also working on some collaboration with one of our clients in a fun and new way. So I'm super excited about many things. Many things are making work awesome for me this week. So please do tell me what is making work awesome for you this week in the chat. And I'm going to start diving into part 3 of our series on the 7 elements that are needed in your culture right now. So this all started, it started actually many years ago, but it became very necessary, I thought, to share some of this because although the writing has been on the wall for a long time, calling for unprecedented disruption of work and business and life, that's been happening for years. We've been calling the world we live in VUCA. We've seen lots of kind of disrupted industries and innovation happening. All of a sudden, when the coronavirus hit, that was a catalyst for upending our traditional 9-to-5 bum and seat working environments. And it caused us to challenge some of the assumptions we had about work and the way we managed work. And when that happened, we actually surveyed over 130, I believe it was, leaders in organizations, and found that one of the key findings was that crisis really illuminated some cultural strengths and weaknesses. So those companies that were really struggling in the wake of the pandemic had some very different cultures already from those who seemed to thrive and were able to adapt and be agile. These were strengths and limitations around trust, around connection of people and collaboration, around empathy and that kind of authenticity throughout their organization, technology and learning technology, and just leadership abilities. Those all were exposed when the coronavirus hit. And as all those disruptions were happening, I had a lot of former clients and people who attended the Reinvent Work Summit that I used to produce, reaching out asking for advice on what to do. By the way, if you were ever at an Impact 99 or a Reinvent Work Summit, let me know in the chat and say hi. So we were producing those events since I started my business back in 2011. And so we've been kind of on this cutting edge of like new ways of working and encouraging that for many years, for over a decade. And so, although it seems odd, I'm going back to 2013 when I co-created something called the Blueprint for Workplace Reinvention with my summit partner, my partner in that summit. And because as I started working with all of these different organizations, what I realized was everything we created in that blueprint that I'm showing on the screen, that was actually what was needed now more than ever before. So we really needed to create this reinvented workplace where you have high levels of engagement, less stress, you're faster to market with new products or changing products, you're winning a war for talent. All of these things became even more important. And how we create this is through organizational agility and organizational trust. But you can't just be like, we're going to be agile now. There are some ways to go about that. So we had done a lot of research back in the early 2010s, all about what were the most innovative and agile companies doing to be that way. And we found these elements on the left. So strategic alignment, I'm going to actually pop the definitions up on the screen. We talked about strategic alignment, and we talked about authentic humanity, and we talked about individual leadership in my first live 3 weeks ago. So that's where you start. You don't start at agility. You're going to have change being made in all misaligned ways unless you start with that strategic alignment. You're really clear on what your organization stands for and where you're going. You need that authentic humanity so that people are connected with each other and with the purpose of the organization. You need that individual leadership so that people take personal responsibility for their actions and understand how they impact things. And all of those, and then you need operational transparency. So I talked about operational transparency, organizational trust, and digital fluency 2 weeks ago. So please go back and see that if those are of interest to you. Operational transparency. People need to be able to find information when they need it so that they can make good decisions. And that information needs to flow quite frictionlessly because there's a lot of it. People need to be able to access it. And organizational trust is the outcome of those 4 green elements. So that is where there's trust for people in the organization, trust outside the organization for the organization, trust for the leaders, and everyone is trusted to do what's best for the organization. We also covered digital fluency last time, and that became super important to when the pandemic hit because we were all of a sudden not in one room together. So that ability to communicate, collaborate, and connect using technology became really, really, really important. So we are today covering the last few elements of this. We're covering dynamic collaboration, relentless innovation, and organizational agility to wrap it all up. And I am just going to check on, I see a request for the definition of strategic alignment. Let me pop that back up for you. So strategic alignment, this was what I spoke about 3 weeks ago. So I think that was, early May. There is a video. You can find me talking about the tips and examples from organizations that have high levels of strategic alignment. This is where everyone across your organization knows exactly where the company's headed, knows the outcomes and the behaviors that are important in order to be successful, and they know what's needed from them in their day-to-day work. So we really want to look from an organizational level. Do you have a clear strategy and vision? Do your leaders across the organization understand what that means departmentally? And do people everywhere understand their role and how their role affects your strategy? Okay, thank you for that question, Connie. And I am going to dive into today's topics, starting with dynamic collaboration. So dynamic collaboration is all about employees being able to participate real time in projects and discussions across departments where their expertise or perspective adds value to the organization or to their engagement. So this is where teams might be expanding or contracting depending on the projects, depending on the complexity, depending on timelines. I often think of one of my of my experiences working in the corporate world when I think of dynamic collaboration. I was working in the corporate world and I was in human resources. And I was also a very early adopter of social media. I was very active on Twitter, and I think a lot of people were using Facebook, but very active on Twitter and LinkedIn at the time, and using it to build my personal brand quite actively, and had become quite well known through some of those platforms. And the organization was creating a social media policy. And so that was not it was not in my area of HR. It was not something that I was responsible for. But I said, like, I'd love to help with that because I have a lot of experience and I actually speak about social media in organizations all the time and have learned a ton that I might be able to help you with this project. And I would love to do it. And I was told no, because it wasn't my job. So it was this kind of aha moment for me of how important it is to engage people in the work that they would probably be great at, that would be a strength, and that they could add a lot of value. And unfortunately, at that organization, there wasn't that opportunity. Now, I will say, informally, with some of the people on that project that I had relationships with, I was able to influence a little bit. But it was a little bit of a letdown to not be able to collaborate on something that I was really passionate about. So how do you create dynamic collaboration in your organization? So I'd love to hear from you if you are here, whether you are here live or in the replay. How have you seen dynamic collaboration cultivated in an organization, whether it's yours or another organization? What have you seen as some great practices? I am going to share some examples and tips, of course. I am also going to remind you, if you have not been to my previous lives, that I am happy to give you the blueprint for Workplace Reinvention, which is about 100 and some odd pages. It is kind of a workbook for you to work through. It has tips on all of these elements and examples from different organizations. Now, it was written in 2013, so I would probably update it if I were to rewrite it now with some more recent examples, but a lot of it is still really relevant. So please message me or comment below with your email address, and I will be happy to send you a copy of that workbook. We used to sell it, but I'm giving it away now. So I'll leave that up just in case you join, in case people join. And yeah, let me know how you're cultivating dynamic collaboration. I'm going to share with you a few examples and tips. So the first one of my longtime favorites is Valve. Valve is an entertainment software and technology company. They produce games. I happen to be a bit of a gamer, so I'm always curious about some of the, I always thought, wouldn't it be a great job to be like a video game tester? If there's anyone here who wants someone to test video games, reach out. Anyways, so at Valve, they actually have their handbook online and have for years. And one of the things in their handbook is that their desks are on wheels. And they say, think of those wheels as a symbolic reminder that you should always be considering where you could move yourself to be more valuable. But also think of those wheels as literal wheels, because that's what they are. And you'll be able to actually move your desk with them. So at Valve, people do move frequently. They are very dynamically collaborative. Whole teams will often move their desks to be close to each other. There's no organizational structure. People opt into projects as they meet in the elevator or in the bathroom or wherever. So they talk about what they're working on, and people join teams to work on those things that they would be best at and excited about. So because of that, desks are on wheels. People just move their desk to who they're currently working with. One of the questions that's also often asked is, if people are always moving, how do I find them? they do have a program that maps out where people are based on where your computer is plugged in. So they've thought of some of those details. So if you are in a actual physical space, being able to move your desk around is one way that you could create this dynamic collaboration. I think of this a lot for HR teams and HRBPs and how effective it is if you're sitting with the team that you support and influence as far as being a business partner. So that is one example of dynamic collaboration. The next example and tip is coming from Menlo Innovations. So at Menlo, they also don't have like bosses and titles, and they don't have offices separated. It's a custom software custom software firm. And a couple of things that they do that they probably still do in person, but you could do this even if you were working virtually. One is pairing. So they set up all of their developers in pairs where two people are working on the same task together. They share one computer literally and pass the mouse and keyboard to brainstorm and collaborate on all of their work. So they're not just like each sharing their own different screens and like working and looking at each other. They are literally on one screen together. So you could do this via a Zoom and have one person working while the other person is collaborating or watching and pass it back and forth. Every Monday, this is a key to the dynamic part of this collaboration, the pairs switch. Every Monday, the pairs switch so that there's new people learning each part of the code, each part of the project. And so in doing this, this allows, first of all, that collaboration is built in. But this is going to help them if someone leaves. There's all of that knowledge has now pervaded the organization because all of these different pairs have worked on all different things throughout. So this really provides fresh perspective to the tasks, and it really catalyzes learning agility across the company. The next thing that you could do virtually or in person is they have client show and tell at the end of each week. So they share what they've completed that week on the client's projects, what's remaining, who's responsible on the team, and clients have the opportunity to collaborate by making additions, changing priorities, all of that. That is a really interesting way of this continuous collaboration with their clients. We kind of do something similar. We meet monthly with our clients, with the stakeholders of our programs to like share what's going on in our program, to hear what's going on in the organization, and to adjust our program constantly. We don't call it show and tell, but yeah, it's a great way to do that. The next one is from Motley Fool. Motley Fool is a financial services and stock advice company, and they have kind of systematized some collaboration right from onboarding. So new hires at Motley Fool always start on a Friday, and one of their orientation tasks is to work with the team that hired them to push the snack cart through their office. So they meet coworkers face to face right away. So what a great way to kind of get that kind of ice broken as you're meeting all of the different people that you work with. They also place new hires into a cohort of 7 to 10 employees with all different skills from different departments, and they give them a problem to collaborate on and solve for the entire organization. So again, they've built this right in from when you start at Motley Fool. They've made collaboration a part of their sort of system right from day one. Now, one of the things that I hear a lot is that we've lost our collaborative culture because of remote work. Now, I have to tell you that chances are people were not actually solving organizational problems when they met at the water cooler or the coffee machine. They might have been talking about their weekend. They may have been building some connection or at least familiarity with other colleagues, but they weren't collaborating and like solving problems when they met for coffee or when they happened by each other for a coffee at the same time. Meeting for coffee is different. Now, that's what I want to suggest to you. Your collaboration hasn't suffered because of remote work. It's suffered because you haven't taken the time to systematize it and add some structure or choreograph the opportunity for that connection, for collaboration, and things in your organization. So I'm sharing a couple of tips on this. Many organizations today are having virtual town halls or all hands meetings very regularly. Some of our clients do them weekly. Most of them do them at least monthly. So chances are you're doing something like this regularly, getting everyone together. And chances are you are missing out on a huge opportunity to choreograph some collaborative problem solving. So I recommend that as an executive team, think about what are some of the big challenges that it would be great to ideate around and get some different and unique perspectives, and in a more inclusive environment. Use your town hall for that. So present the challenge and then put people in breakout groups with a question to answer, or with some parameters to solve that challenge. Give them some time to collaboratively work together across different departments. So they're building those relationships and hearing from different people in a structured way. You can choreograph that, and chances are you might even get some great solutions you never thought of. So I do recommend you create those opportunities to choreograph that. One other tip, I don't have a pop-up for this one, though, if you do want to create more of those connections in a choreographed way, again, because you do have to be intentional about this in a hybrid or remote world, I suggest use something like Donut as a Slack plugin, to a Slack bot to pair people up for coffee, or go further and reach out to 10,000 Coffees. They will help you with a program about connecting peers to peers across the organization based on interests and all different things, and really help to build those connections that you might be feeling you're missing. And that can help for sure with dynamic collaboration. Okay. The final sort of element that helps to build organizational agility is relentless innovation. So here's our definition. Employees are empowered to improve operational excellence and customer loyalty. Results-focused ideation and experimentation is encouraged. Ideas and initiatives that do not yield impactful results are called and seen as learning. And that is so key. And that is one of the reasons why you can't just jump to innovation if you haven't built trust already. So if you remember that blueprint for workplace reinvention, we say start at the bottom. To build this, you have to build the green elements and organizational trust before you get to relentless innovation. Because if you haven't built trust, people are not going to try and fail. They are going to be worried about that. There's not going to have the psychological safety to do that. So relentless innovation, please tell me, if your organization is innovative, what are some of the things you're doing? Or have you heard a story or an example or a strategy from another organization that has helped that organization cultivate innovation in their culture? So I'm going to share, again, a couple of examples. First, a couple of stats that are just from recent studies. 79% of companies rank innovation among their top 3 priorities this year. And 83% of firms have implemented AI for innovation use cases. Now, I am a fan of experimenting with ChatGPT, and I actually did this today as I was preparing for this, and I thought I would share what ChatGPT said to me about ways to improve innovation. So here's my little chat with ChatGPT. I said, what are some strategic but practical ways that companies can improve innovation? Provide 10 ideas based on what top innovative companies do. Include a specific example from a real company for each idea. So here's their 10 ideas. I am not going to read through all of them. There weren't any that were surprising or shocking or brand new to me. But I work in this area a lot. So I read and I research this a lot. So, I suggest stick that prompt into Chat GPT and see what it tells you. I hadn't heard of, I knew Nike did a lot of collaborative innovation on their footwear, but didn't know they called it the Innovation Kitchen. That's a fun name. But yeah, there wasn't anything new to me personally, but lots of great ideas and examples. So Chat GPT, AI. AI is not coming for our jobs, but people who know how to use AI, maybe. So let's get using it and practice with it. So one of the examples, and this actually did come up in Chat GPT's examples too, is Kickbox. This is a strategy from Adobe. They've been doing this for years and years and years. And it's actually so widely used that they've made it open source. That you can see the link there, kickbox.org. You can go and download their entire innovation process in a book form and everything. So they basically award this innovation in a box to anyone who requests it. Now, when I researched this a few years ago, it included things like a prepaid credit card to fund the idea for about $1,000. It included their instructions for their innovation process, including checklists and tools. It included a Starbucks gift card, a chocolate bar for extra fuel, and a whole bunch of other things. So what they do is any employee who has an idea can ask for the Kickbox. They get this box that helps to fund and give them the process for their idea. And then they submit it and sell management on their idea. And if they win, if management decides to implement their idea, they get a blue box. Nobody knows what's in it unless you win it. So it is a mystery. So to me, even the way that they've launched that, the mystery surrounding it is an innovation. So implement something like that. You could do a hackathon where teams are creating an idea or creating a solution or working on an idea together, and you're giving them a little bit of funding or a process to follow to do that, and do a hackathon every year or every few months. So that is one idea. Next idea is crowdsourcing, and this is from Unilever, which is a huge organization, one of the world's largest consumer goods companies. You've probably heard of crowdfunding from like Kickstarter and GoFundMe, and you've probably done crowdsourcing many times when you've asked for recommendations on Facebook. Unilever is doing this in an open source way. So they actually have implemented this open innovation platform where they post challenges online and people can submit their solutions to problems that Unilever is facing. So I'll just share the site. Here's what it looks like. So you go in, it says innovate with us. It says here's our latest challenges. You click on one of the categories and it tells you what they want, what sort of specific ideas they're looking for, and then you can share an idea or share a technical solution on some of their biggest challenges. So what a great way to involve the world in solving your organizational problems and innovating with new ideas. A couple of other ideas around building relentless innovation. One of my favorites is to appoint red teams, or in the words of Lovey Ajayi-Jones, who has written a book called Professional Troublemakers. So this is, you might even go as far to set up a part of your organization that their purpose is to put your organization out of business. So they're innovating and adapting and figuring out what could be the new disruptive technology that could put you out of business. You might just do this in a simple way, where in a meeting you appoint someone or a few people to poke holes in any ideas that are shared, or poke holes in the decisions that you make and say what could go wrong. That way you're hearing the other side and you're giving people permission to do that explicitly. Another idea, and this is so key, this is the ultimate relentless innovation idea, is to train and design for psychological safety. So this means leaders admitting mistakes. It means modeling curiosity. It means looking at when you fail and just asking, what did we learn from that? And making sure there's not blame for taking risks. So lots of work around psychological safety. Reach out if you want to build that in your organization. A lot of the work we do focuses on developing that. Okay, guess what? We are at the final element, or the ultimate element of the blueprint for workplace reinvention, which is organizational agility. Organizational agility is the ability to quickly and effectively make change happen. Agile organizations are anticipating and adjusting to changes in the market, their customer needs, emergence of new technologies, new competitors, all of that sort of thing. And they're developing new products and services quickly based on what's going on or what the future is bringing. Individuals and teams in agile workplaces are flexible, adaptable, coordinated, really quick to uncover problems and solutions, and to change tactics to achieve results. They're able to identify risk, they're capturing opportunities, and they're doing all of that more quickly than competitors. So this is a key skill for a high-performing workplace in today's world. I would love to hear from you if you are in the chat live or on the replay. What are some ways you are cultivating organizational agility in your organization? And as usual, I'm going to share some examples and tips. The first one is from Netflix. So freedom and responsibility, you may have seen their deck. You can look on SlideShare for their whole kind of culture deck on freedom and responsibility. As their company has grown, employees were given more and more freedom as the company grew. So that allowed them to really innovate, because people had the freedom to bring ideas and to make change happen. And because they know that they focus on finding the best talent fit for their culture, people can be creative and bring that to the organization. The second one is what they call rapid recovery. So I love how they think of this. They say, we're not in the business of medicine or nuclear power, so it's okay to make an error. Preventing errors is not the critical focus for Netflix. And probably for most of us, it's not. But for some reason, we're so focused on making sure that things don't go wrong that we really hurt innovation and agility. So at Netflix, they talk about rapid recovery, try things, fail, and recover quickly. And then finally, rule creep. And I love this one. I was often an HR person who didn't want to implement the policy for the rule. This often happens in organizations where someone makes a mistake or someone does something and someone says, we need a policy for that. And chances are you don't need a whole policy or a whole process or a whole structure for one person who made a mistake or did something. You might just need a conversation. So the rule creep reminder is great from Netflix. So they say, like, implementing process to prevent errors sounds good at times, but those are often the type of rules that can sneak in and start to make them less agile. So they try to get rid of rules wherever possible. So watch out for rule creep. Challenge whether you're creating a policy that could be a conversation, and that will help with agility. The next one is about nudges. So this is from Google. Specifically, if you've read Work Rules by Laszlo Bock, he talks a lot about nudges. And nudges are things we can all implement. We actually, when we do leadership development, we have a nudge system for new habits that nudges behavior change. And it's critical because then we see actual behavior change come out of our leadership training. At Google, they use nudges all over the place. So one example was simple nudges when you hire a new employee. They would send the managers would receive an email the day before their new employee starts, and it just outlined 5 simple steps they were going to take in a checklist. Things like match your noogler with a peer buddy, or set up onboarding check-ins once a month for the first 6 months. So something, they would get that email just in time. So that's the key to the nudge. It's a just in time reminder. It's not like I have to go looking for it because I know I have someone starting tomorrow. It comes the day before someone is hired as a nudge, right in time, right on time. Another nudge that Laszlo Bock writes about in the book is a sign on the doors to encourage people to check security badges, because people were just getting really lackadaisical about that. And it was kind of uncomfortable to look at someone's badge that might be hanging down around their hip. So they posted these funny signs on all the doors with a cartoon alligator masquerading as a human. And it said something like, anyone could be a tailgater, ask for their badge. And so they found that thefts and unauthorized entry dropped just from the simple nudge of, like, when I'm at the door, I see the sign and I'm reminded. So again, look for ways for those nudges that come up when they are needed. Connie, I see your request. I will definitely get you the blueprint. I just need your email address, so you can message me your email address. And okay, where am I at? Let me get back to, so that was nudges at Google. And just, if I could recommend a final just way of thinking about organizational agility, and that is just to make change a part of everyone's job. Put it in their job description so that right away that people are thinking, like, I'm a change maker. I'm driving this organization forward. I'm looking for continuous improvements all the time. I'm challenging the process. I'm looking for better ways to do things all the time. That should be part of everyone's job in today's world. So that, my friends, is it. Can you believe it? And I guess I should say my final tip on building organizational agility is to implement everything in the blueprint. Start at the bottom with strategic alignment, move into authentic humanity, individual leadership, operational transparency, develop organizational trust to start, and then continue. Digital fluency. Can we connect, collaborate, and get work done on using technology? Dynamic collaboration, relentless innovation, and finally, the organizational agility. So implement that. I'm going to ask you, I'm curious, let me know which element of the blueprint is your organization's priority when you think about development, when you think about reinventing work, creating that really trustworthy, trusting, and agile organization. Which element do you think your organization needs to start at? And again, encouraging you to start at the bottom of the model with that strategic alignment, because if you don't have that, it's really hard to innovate in a way that pushes the organization forward. Which element on the left is your organization's priority? Drop that in the chat. And finally, as I always do, I want to, let me see. I see strategic alignment being a priority. Yes, so important. And there are some simple ways and great examples of strategic alignment, both in the blueprint and in my previous video. So really do check out that video. I will add a link to that previous video in the comments below. And my final final kind of encouragement for you, because as I said, our mission is to improve people's lives by making work awesome. And we know that sometimes you have to do it yourself. There are always opportunities to improve work for yourself and your colleagues. So my encouragement for you today is to just find a way to make work awesome today. Thank you, and have an amazing, oh, I see you, Teresa, and your priority of innovation. I will, thank you, thank you. That one was covered today, so we gave you some tips, but please do let me know if you want the blueprint with some other tips in it as well. So find a way to make work awesome today, and I will see